Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to talk about the hidden blessings of chronic illness. And I'm sure a lot of you are probably annoyed with that title. I myself am as well. And I'm pretty sure you've heard it from family members, friends, who knows, maybe even doctors, that sometimes your illness can be a blessing. And I don't agree because I, I would do anything to not have this condition. Um, any benefits that it has brought into my life probably do not outweigh how bad it's made my life. But that being said, I'm chronically ill, and there's at this point, nothing that I can really do about it. And sometimes the only thing you can do is to find the silver lining in all of that. And I may have talked about this before in the past. I know that I've done different videos talking about, I guess what I've learned from my chronic illness and I guess some benefits that have come from it. But I've never really gone in depth or been very specific about it. And today I kind of wanted to talk about something, I guess, a little bit more specific. And that is drinking. Um, I come from a family of pretty heavy drinkers. I wouldn't say alcoholics, although I would some people do fit that description. But I do come from a family of very heavy drinkers. And one of the things that I had to do when I got sick and when I was going to go through treatment was I had to stop. I mean, I had to stop a lot of eating a lot of things, but particularly things that were heavy or high in sugar. And if you know anything about alcohol, it basically just breaks down into sugars. It's almost like an atomic bomb of sugar and inflammation in your system. And so when I started doing long-term antibiotics, I had to stop drinking because there could be interactions with the antibiotics and alcohol, and those interactions are not very pleasant. And so I stopped. I stopped. I think for probably more than 2 years, which was the longest that I had ever stopped drinking. I wouldn't say that I was an alcoholic prior to getting really sick, but I did drink quite a bit, and I think some of the ways in which I drank were probably problematic. Um, Drinking alone or drinking like by myself in my room, um, kind of hiding it sometimes, or even going out alone and then drinking, out by myself somewhere at like a bar or something. Um, and that was, I don't want to say that that was even prior to my illness. That was even during my illness. But prior to my illness, I definitely, in my youth, like most people, I drank quite a bit. And, and you make a fool of yourself. And a lot of that is just normal, early 20s type of stuff. And I definitely, I'm not judging people for drinking, especially young people, because it's kind of part of being young and having a good time. Like I look back and yeah, I did a lot of stupid things, but at the same time, it's like, at least I had that because I did not know that this would be my future, that I would be very sick to the point where I couldn't even go out and do anything anymore. So part of me is like, you know what? Yeah, I enjoyed myself and I had a good time. But I look at my family, and different people in my family, not just my immediate family. This, I'm talking about extended family. I'm talking about a lot of us, all of us. We all drink. And I'm seeing people that are literally going into their 50s and still doing these things, drinking heavily, um, posting it on social media, thinking it's like really cute. And again, I think there's a time and a place. I think there's an age that kind of stuff is fun and cute and whatever. But I think once your children are grown and, you know, you're grown and you're an older person, I think you should get over it. And that's something that, now that I'm sick and now that I have had time to think and time to really look back on life, I don't know if I would have been that person that would have stopped drinking, had I not gotten sick. I think I probably still would have continued drinking. There are people in my family clear into their senior years with grandkids and everything that still drink heavily in front of their grandkids and act a fool. And it's really, when I look at it now, I'm just like, this is inappropriate. This isn't good. And I definitely think I would have been one of those people. Just continuing to drink straight into my, late 30s, 40s, 50s, and thinking that it's just totally okay. And we were brought up that way. We were brought up to believe that drinking is not just okay, it's obligatory, especially when you're with family and when you're at a family event, family party type of situation, that's just what you're supposed to do. And, I stopped for a few years and then picked it back up. This was probably back in 2016, 2017, around that time. I made a couple of friends off of social media. And when I use the term friends, I'm using it very loosely. And both of these friends were, I want to say, heavy drinkers or problem drinkers. One of them was basically like a binge drinker, alcoholic. The other one was just a problem drinker. And she even admitted that to me as well. And so, I made these friends and picked up the drinking again. Obviously, I wasn't drinking as heavily as I used to, but I was still drinking. And I had been told by my doctor, you cannot drink alcohol, period. Like, cut that out completely. That's not something that you're going to be able to go back to ever. And so I started, and I was still in a place that, that was like 5 years ago, 6 years ago. I was still in a somewhat decent place. I still had my neurological issues, but I was, for whatever reason, I was like, hey, my stomach is still kind of okay. If I can handle it, I can handle it, even if it's a little bit lighter drinking than I used to. Not thinking that eventually that would catch up to me. That's why the doctor had told me not to drink. And yeah, it was, like a couple of years, not heavy drinking, but of regular drinking, maybe once or twice a month. And yeah, eventually my body was like, you need to stop, because my inflammation started climbing and I started, my health started to decline again or more. So, the one thing about all of my food intolerances and my GI issues is that I don't tolerate alcohol anymore, and my neurological issues as well. I don't tolerate alcohol. I started having panic attacks, which is kind of like the opposite of what alcohol is supposed to do. A lot of people drink alcohol to relax. I started having panic attacks. And I remember one situation where I was by myself at a nightclub and somebody had bought me a drink, a really sketchy guy. I found out later that he was like married or something. That's what made him very sketchy. He was just weird to begin with. He bought me a drink and I was stupid enough to drink it. And I remember I started panicking and I went to the bathroom and I just started panicking and I was like having an anxiety attack. And I do have a history of anxiety and anxiety attacks, but I've learned how to manage them and I had been doing well. And for whatever reason, I just started panicking and I was feeling more drunk when I had drank very, very little alcohol. And I started, in my mind, I was like, he put something in my drink. I got roofied. I got, this paranoia and this, freaking out. And, he didn't put anything in my drink. I would have passed out. I would have blacked out. And there were so many people around, that somebody would have found me. But I was in the, in the bathroom stall thinking, am I going to throw up? Am I freaking out? That's usually how I manifest anxiety attacks, is feeling nauseated and my heart's pounding. And, I started to realize that these were just physiological reactions to alcohol. I also, started experiencing a come down from alcohol where when I start sobering up, I become very upset and very just crying and depressed and all of that. And I noticed that pattern. These were things that I had never experienced before, although there are people who are prone to crying when they drink. And I'm kind of starting to see that association. I think it's just like a come down reaction from alcohol. But there are people that are prone to crying when they drink. And I never was. So this was all kind of like new territory to me, having anxiety attacks while drinking, crying, just kind of even being paranoid because I started noticing that. And a lot of that has to do with my neurological issues, having anxiety and all of that. You know, so that, having to stay away from alcohol and also foods that are not healthy for me, and having to really focus on my health and focus on my diet has been, I guess, one of the hidden blessings, and almost a forced blessing because I really can't tolerate it anymore. My body just can't. And so back in 2018, I believe it was either late 2017 or early 2018, when I was pursuing getting, the diagnosis for SPS and getting back on my IVIG. Once I saw that I was moving in the right direction and that it was possible to get back on my IVIG, that was sort of where I was going, I knew that I had to take care of myself and I had to just completely stay away from alcohol if I wanted to get back on the horse. And a lot of it too, was a lot of the hopelessness. And I know I've talked about this in my other videos, that I was just so hopeless that I didn't even care. I was like, I don't care if I get sicker. I don't care if I get into issues, because that was also what was happening with these two friends that I made. We were having issues because we were all drinking, and, we started having issues with each other, and it would just was not good. It was not a good thing. And so I started to see that. I started to see alcohol becoming a problem also within my own family, with family members, and also being used a lot as a coping mechanism. And I was like, I need to stop, and of course I had hope because I saw that there was a possibility that I could get back on my medication. But it's not just with alcohol. I've also learned, and I do have a video called Zero Tolerance, or like my zero tolerance policy. I think I made that one actually a couple years ago, where I have learned, because of my illness, I just don't tolerate people well anymore, and especially problematic people. And it's weird because I have, put up with problematic behavior from people for several years. But it's almost like once I start seeing that life can change, or once I start seeing that there might be, when I saw my IVIG right there on the horizon, that it was within my reach, I started cleaning up my act. And I said, you know what? You don't want to start getting into more issues with anybody, or making your health even worse with stress, or dealing with these people, or drinking. So get out of this situation now. And I just cut these people out of my life. It is kind of, I know that there's a lot of debate about ghosting and about dropping people, without telling them anything. That might actually be a pretty good video for me to make, because there is a lot of controversy over that. I am, I wouldn't even call it ghosting. I do drop people like a bad habit. I will go from one day to the next and just stop talking to someone, block them on social media without any explanation. I know that that's controversial and a lot of people have opinions about that, but when you're chronically ill, you can't afford to just keep at it with some people. You just got to get out of there and let go of it. So I've done that. I've done that a lot. One of the other things too, and I know I've spoken about this before, and I know that this is one of the biggest tragedies for chronically ill people, and that is not being able to attend family events or to associate with family, as much as you would like. And for those of you that have good families and happy families and people that you really love and get along with, I know that that can be horrible. That can be one of the most horrible aspects of being chronically ill. But for some of us who come from dysfunction and anger and hostility, it can be a blessing. And I think that's been one of the biggest blessings, is the fact that because of my illness, I can't really attend family functions, or I just prefer not to stress myself out over the logistics of how am I going to make it to this person's birthday party, or how am I going to get to this. I can just simply say I don't feel well, and I can't go. And it has been a blessing because a lot of times you put up with stuff. I remember as a kid, we were forced to go to every family gathering, and we just had to be there, until nighttime, until we were exhausted. We didn't have a say, we didn't have a choice. Even if we were tired, even if we weren't feeling well, we were forced to go. And we were raised that way, with this sense of obligation that you have to do all of these things. And I think I did a video about that as well, where you have to. And my illness has taught me that I don't have to anymore. And that's been one of the hidden blessings. And I've told people on here, if you're chronically ill, use it. Use it as much as you can, because we're sick and there's nothing that we can do about that. Might as well use it to our advantage. And I do, because I'm tired, and I don't want to put up with anything anymore. That's kind of the way that I feel. I'm just not going to put up with stuff anymore. I'm done doing that. Um I have to, I've had to make those decisions as to whether I want to engage in arguments or confrontations. Like I said, with these friends that I had to make a choice. Am I going to try and talk to them? With one of them I did, and it just never worked. And with the other one, I was like, I don't see that she's going to accept that she did anything wrong here. And she was looking for a feel good friend, and I'm not that feel good friend. I'm sick. I can't go out and party and have a good time. Apart from the fact that we were in our mid 30s and we should have really been, over that hill at that point. And so you spend a lot of time evaluating your relationships and asking yourself whether it's worth it. Is this person worth it? Is it worth it to be putting up with them? Or to argue with them, or try to reason with them. As a matter of fact, one of these people reached out to me recently. I have him blocked everywhere: social media, Cash App, Venmo. I mean, I really cut this person out. And he found me, I think, through PayPal or something. And I'm not going to sit here and play the innocent victim. Am I a problem? Yeah. I've been a problem in the past, and I can be a problem. And, I've spoken about that with my therapist. I'm isolated. I'm stuck at home. And when that happens, when you're between disability, where you have a lot of issues, you can't work, but you can still function somewhat, you're going to get into problems. I can still walk. I can still drive. I can still get into problems. I have to accept the fact that I am part of the problem. But when I got this message from this person who has caused me a lot of distress and a lot of issues, I told myself, is this really what you want to do? Right? And I am in the midst of my exosomes treatment. I'm, again, there is this hope. There is a lot of stress. But I asked myself, is this what you really want to do? Because you can have this person back in your life within minutes, and you're going to start this process all over again. And I told myself, you can't do this. You can't do this. Your health is at stake. You don't know what's going to happen to you. And again, part of the reason that I was like, I can't deal with this person right now, is because I wasn't feeling well because of the exosomes treatment. So sometimes chronic illness, even though it can be limiting, it can keep you out of trouble. It's kept me out of trouble by force. And, I try to be grateful for that. And I try to tell myself, look, if you had not been sick, or if you had not been as sick as you are, or feeling as bad as you are, you may have started talking to this person again, or reached out to someone that you shouldn't be talking to, or that you shouldn't be engaging with. I might be fighting with family members more, when the fighting is fruitless. The fighting is absolutely fruitless. But, I kind of just wanted to make this video because I know that it sucks being sick. And there are going to be other videos posting that are kind of a lot more depressing than this, and that aren't really looking at the brighter side. But I have, my illness has stopped me from doing some bad things, I guess, or engaging in some, with people that are not good for me. And, you really do have to start evaluating that, when you're sick, and asking yourself if it's worth it. Is it worth having that drink if it's going to make you sick for a couple of weeks, or if it's going to give me panic attacks? You know, I just got to a point where I was like, I don't, it's not worth it to me anymore. I'm not having fun anymore. And I think I stopped drinking in 2000, either early 2018 or 2000 or mid 2017. It's been about 5 years where I haven't had a single drop of alcohol. And I'm not going to say that I don't miss it. I'm not one of those people that says that it's, that I don't need to drink alcohol to have fun. Alcohol does make everything more fun. But for me, it just wasn't fun anymore. It was making me sick. And so were some of these people. So I just wanted to make this video. I don't know if this is going to help anybody. Just kind of look at the brighter side. I know it's hard to look at the brighter side. I guess I felt like I needed this because of current things that are happening that are not going so well. But yeah, I just hope that this can help put things into perspective for some of us, because sometimes, I don't know, sometimes we need to hear it maybe from someone else. I don't know. So that's what I have for you guys today. Please like and subscribe.